The exit signs. The exit signs are the cruelest joke the infinite IKEA ever pulled. Glowing red promises of freedom that may as well be arrows pointing into the abyss. Think about it, inside SCP-3008. Exits do exist, but they behave like hallucinations. Sometimes you'll see one glowing in the distance, humming with fluorescent authority like salvation itself. Survivors sprint toward it, their carts rattling, their hearts pounding, and then, nothing. The closer you get, the further away it drifts. Like a mirage in a desert. Except instead of sand there are thousands of identical living room displays. And instead of thirst you've got Swedish meatball starvation gnawing at your gut. What makes this theory especially cruel is how plausible it feels. People have escaped before. We have records of dazed survivors stumbling back into the real world, clutching catalogs like relics. So of course the human brain clings to the glowing signs. Maybe they're portals. Maybe they're cracks in reality. Maybe IKEA's emergency fire code is the one law the universe couldn't overwrite. But here's the horror. You don't know which sign is real until you've already wasted days chasing a neon hallucination that rewires itself when you blink. Psychologically, the exit signs aren't just symbols of hope, they're a metaphor for capitalism itself. The product is freedom. The advertisement is glowing above your head. But the aisle is endless and the price is your sanity. You want the door? Good luck. The shelves are infinite, the geometry hostile, and the employees are sharpening their meat hooks behind you. This is why some survivors stop chasing exits altogether. Better to build a fort out of lac tables and drink rainwater from broken ceiling tiles than spend eternity sprinting toward a door that may never open. The ceiling theory. The ceiling theory is where human desperation meets Looney Tunes logic. If the floor plan never ends, maybe the ceiling does. Survivors talk about it like a half-joke, half-suicidal dream. You find enough shelving units, stack them like deranged Jenga, climb past the fluorescent light panels and pray you hit the roof. Because surely, the simulation has a top. The sky can't just be endless IKEA ceiling tiles, right? Except it can. People who've tried describe the climb as nightmarish, higher than skyscrapers. Colder the further you ascend. The lights flickering until you're hanging in absolute dark with only the echo of your own ragged breath. Sometimes they say the lights stop completely. Sometimes they swear the void above the ceiling isn't empty, it's breathing. There are legends of one man who made it through. He disappeared into the panels and never came back down. Was he free? Was he digested by whatever void creature IKEA contracted as their upper management? No one knows. But the scraps of furniture that come crashing down from failed attempts tell their own story. Ladders snapping. Climbers falling. Bodies breaking on the linoleum below. The ceiling theory exposes the ugliest human instinct. The belief that vertical escape equals salvation. If the map stretches sideways forever, surely the way out must be up. But maybe up isn't out. Maybe up is just higher. Higher and colder. Until you're no longer human but just another thing drifting in a warehouse-shaped cosmos. The map theory. The map theory is born from the desperate logic of people who think IKEA is just a maze that can be solved. Like Pac-Man if Pac-Man also had to eat meatballs to survive. Survivors believe that by carefully charting the aisles, comparing furniture arrangements, and recording light cycles, they can stitch together some kind of navigable map that leads to the true exit. Sounds rational, right? Except SCP-3008 doesn't respect rationality. The geometry changes. Distances warp. You can walk straight for hours and find yourself back at the same cursed futon you passed this morning. As if the building is mocking your little notebook sketches. People who dedicate themselves to mapping usually lose their minds slowly. Lines on graph paper turning into spirals. Spirals into scribbles. Scribbles into pages filled with nothing but the word exit, written over and over until their handwriting collapses. It's not just futility, it's the IKEA itself fighting back. Because if you could map the space, that would mean it's finite. That would mean the monster has limits. And what's scarier than the thought of no escape? The thought that the labyrinth knows you're trying to escape. And it rearranges itself just to keep you confused. The map theory is disturbing because it feeds on hope. The survivors who cling to it are the ones who refuse to give up. Who believe that intelligence can triumph over absurdity. But here's the punchline. In SCP-3008, intelligence is a liability. The smarter you are, the faster the walls laugh at you. The employee's door. The employee's door is a whispered rumor. A sacred legend in the fluorescent wasteland, somewhere deep in the warehouse. The staff, the blank-faced, two tall humanoids in yellow uniforms, have a private exit. Survivors tell stories of watching them vanish behind staff-only doors that shouldn't exist. Sometimes mid-pursuit, sometimes during their nightly rampages when they screech about, "The store is now closed." The idea is that if you can follow an employee, mimic them, or force your way through their threshold, you'll find the true back door out of the nightmare. But here's the kicker. Nobody who claims to have tried ever comes back. Do they escape? Or do they step through and discover the staff room isn't a break lounge but some Lovecraftian slaughterhouse where the employees hang up human bodies like coats? Nobody knows. The employees aren't exactly open to interviews. This theory terrifies me because it forces you to imagine the employees as more than drones. If they have a door, they have a destination. If they have a destination, they have lives. And if they have lives, then this isn't just a prison, it's a job site. For them. Which means you're not just trapped in IKEA. You're trapped in someone else's workday. The employee door is both the most believable and the most horrifying escape theory. Because if it exists, you might get out, or you might finally learn what the employees are when they clock out. And maybe that truth is worse than eternity in the aisles. The follow the food theory. The follow the food theory is the IKEA equivalent of breadcrumb trails, literally. Survivors whisper that if you track the path of the employees delivering food, you'll eventually find the place where supplies come from. And if supplies come from somewhere, then that somewhere must be a connection to the outside world. On paper, it makes sense. In SCP-3008, food seems to replenish magically. Fridges that should be empty refill. Hot dogs appear fresh every morning. Lingonberry soda fountains never run dry. Someone, or something, is restocking the store. So the theory goes, tail an employee, hide behind the pallets, slip through the invisible hole where the meatballs appear, and boom, you're back in reality with a stomach full of shame. But reality doesn't bend so kindly. Survivors who've tried this rarely return, and the ones who do come back mumble about walking in circles. Pallets that vanish into thin air. Or worse, employees catching them in the act. The employees don't like trespassers near the food. Maybe because the food isn't delivered at all. Maybe it's generated. Maybe the IKEA itself is producing it. The way a body produces blood. And if you're caught tampering, you're not just punished, you're recycled. The horror here isn't just survival logistics. It's cannibalistic paranoia. If food is infinite, where does it come from? What if it comes from us? What if you've been eating the last guy who followed the pallets too far? Every bite of those deliciously cursed Swedish meatballs becomes a gamble, sustenance or sacrament. The infinite loop theory. The infinite loop theory is the darkest joke the SCP-3008 community ever birthed. There is no escape because stepping through an exit just drops you into another IKEA. It explains a lot. Survivors who swear they've escaped describe fading back into reality, only to later find themselves inside again without explanation. Maybe they dreamt it. Maybe the exits are traps. Maybe every IKEA in the world is secretly linked through SCP-3008. And leaving one just drops you into the lobby of another. It's cosmic comedy. Imagine running for months, surviving the employees, starving, mapping, stacking furniture to reach the outside, finally stumbling through an exit, only to land in a slightly different store, where the seasonal display is Christmas instead of Halloween. Congratulations. You're free in the same prison. Just with tinsel now. The loop theory gnaws at your sanity because it makes hope toxic. It suggests the whole structure is designed to trick you into believing escape exists, just to keep you running on the treadmill. It's not punishment, it's entertainment. For who? The employees? The Foundation? Some unknowable god of retail? Doesn't matter. What matters is this. Every door is a trap door. And freedom is just another aisle. The infinite loop isn't just a theory. It's a philosophy of despair. Some survivors embrace it, convincing themselves that escape is impossible. So they stop trying. Others keep running anyway. Because what's the alternative? Admit the store owns you? That you'll die between the rugs and the flat-pack wardrobes? Sometimes denial is the only rebellion left. The ceiling break theory. The ceiling break theory is the IKEA apocalypse version of, if in doubt, break the glass. Survivors believe that if you smash enough ceiling tiles, you'll eventually find something behind the endless fluorescent void. A roof, a sky, a way out. People have tried. They've hurled chairs, launched broom handles, built siege engines from disassembled futons. Some swear the tiles are hollow and fragile. Others say the tiles repair themselves instantly, healing over like skin closing around a wound. And then there are the accounts of people who actually made it through, who clawed into the darkness above and reported something alive, pulsing, waiting for them. Nobody who climbed fully into that blackness ever came back. The ceiling break theory is disturbing because it represents pure desperation. It's not tactical, not clever, it's primal violence against the environment itself. It's screaming at the architecture, "You're not real, let me out." And the architecture just laughs, patching its wounds, humming its eternal fluorescent song. And if you did make it through? What then? Do you really think you'd find blue skies and birdsong? Or would you discover that SCP-3008 doesn't have an outside? That you've just been living inside the ribcage of a god, and you've torn a hole straight into its lungs? The assimilation theory. The assimilation theory is the darkest escape plan of all. You don't leave SCP-3008, you become part of it. Some survivors believe the employees weren't always employees. They were once people, just like the lost shoppers and unlucky trespassers. But over time, the store consumes them. The yellow uniforms fuse to their skin. Their faces melt into featureless masks. And they forget what they were. They forget who they were. Until the only thing left is their duty. Enforce the rules. Protect the aisles. And endlessly murmur. The store is now closed. The implication is horrifying. Every employee lumbering through the showroom could be an ex-survivor who gave up. Every faceless stalker might once have had a name, a family, a life outside the aisles. And the process? It isn't a curse, it's assimilation. Escape doesn't mean freedom. Escape means becoming staff. This theory is so vile because it flips hope on its head. You don't die in SCP-3008. You don't leave, you change. And that change erases everything about you except the uniform. Your hunger, your fear, your rebellion, all of it is flattened into obedience. The ultimate brand loyalty. People whisper this theory when they notice employees walking strangely familiar paths. Or when a staff member hums a tune from the outside world. Like an echo of a life forgotten. And in those moments, the theory feels less like paranoia and more like prophecy. Because maybe the only real way out is through the uniform rack. The Foundation Rescue Theory. The Foundation Rescue Theory is the hopeful lie everyone clings to when they're one meatball away from madness. It goes like this. SCP Foundation agents are secretly inside 3008. Disguised as survivors, waiting for the right time to gather up the lost and lead them to safety. It's the IKEA myth equivalent of believing the fire department is on the way while your house is already ash. Sure, there are recorded incidents of people stumbling out of SCP-3008 and being picked up by Foundation containment teams. But those aren't rescues, they're accidents. Survivors crawling out like roaches after the light flicks on. And the Foundation doesn't exactly send postcards back. People don't come running in with gear, flashlights, and a "this way, folks" attitude. Still, survivors whisper about it. They see strangers in the store with odd equipment, strange scars, or military posture. They're agents. They say, they'll get us out. But the longer you watch those agents, the more they look like everyone else. Just people trying not to die. Propping up their little fortresses with bookshelves and false hope. The Foundation Rescue Theory is terrifying in its implications. Because if it's not true, then the only people who know SCP-3008 exists are deliberately leaving you there. They're watching, studying, maybe even learning from you. Which means the Foundation isn't the cavalry, they're the audience. And you're not a survivor. You're the experiment. The Memory Collapse Theory. The Memory Collapse Theory is the existential sledgehammer of SCP-3008 escape lore. It says you can get out, but if you do, you won't remember any of it. That explains why the Foundation's records describe escapees as dazed, confused, unable to recount their time inside except in broken fragments. People wake up in parking lots clutching receipts from stores that don't exist. Their pockets full of IKEA pencils and stomachs full of food that never should have been edible. The memories are hazy, dreamlike, melting away the moment they're spoken aloud. It's horrifying because it makes survival meaningless. Imagine fighting for years against employees, building forts out of couches, mapping aisles with blood-stained notebooks, and then finally escaping, only to forget everything the second your foot hits the asphalt. You go back to your life as though nothing happened, while the scars on your body whisper that it did. And if that's true, how do we even know SCP-3008 exists? How do we know the stories of survivors are real and not just dream residue from people who had their minds wiped? What if every time someone discovers 3008, it's just the same cursed cycle replaying, with new victims, new memories, destined to collapse again? The memory collapse theory doesn't just kill hope of escape, it kills the meaning of hope itself. Because even if you win, you lose yourself. The death as escape theory. The death as escape theory is the nuclear option. The idea that the only true exit from SCP-3008 is to stop breathing. Morbid? Yes. Comforting? In a sick way. Also yes. Survivors whisper it when the nights stretch too long and the employees pound on their makeshift forts, chanting their awful broken slogans. They whisper it when the meatballs taste like rot, when the rainwater barrels are empty, when hope is just another word written on cardboard signs that nobody follows. The theory goes like this. If you die in the store, you wake up outside, maybe in the parking lot, maybe in your bed, maybe in a coffin, but at least it's not aisle 37. Of course, this raises questions. If that were true, why hasn't anyone proved it? Why don't desperate survivors just take the leap and tell the rest of us what's on the other side? Maybe they did, and the Foundation scrubbed the testimony. Or maybe death doesn't free you, it just reassigns you. That corpse you left behind? That becomes an employee. That's why their faces are blank. That's why their bodies don't make sense. They're us. They're what's left when dying doesn't take you home but hands you a uniform. The death as escape theory is terrifying because it's both hopeful and horrifying in the same breath. Hopeful. Maybe you don't have to run anymore. Horrifying. Maybe you'll never stop working. Maybe SCP-3008 isn't just a prison. It's a factory. And the only promotion is death. So when people in the store mutter about freedom, what they're really asking is, are you willing to gamble your life on the possibility that dying is just clocking out? The you never leave theory. The you never leave theory is the most soul-crushing one of all. It doesn't say you die. It doesn't say you assimilate. It doesn't even say you forget. It says, you already escaped. You're out. And you're still in. How? Because SCP-3008 isn't the store, it's you. The aisles, the endless repetition, the gnawing hunger, the artificial hope glowing above you like an exit sign that never gets closer. It's all a reflection of your own life outside. Your commute, your 9 to 5, your routines, your desperate clinging to the illusion of freedom, when in reality you're walking the same aisles every day. Just under a different fluorescent sky. This theory doesn't ask, how do we leave? It asks, have we ever left? And once you start thinking about it, you can't stop. The store layout looks a lot like your shopping mall. The employees aren't monsters, they're just retail workers whose eyes glazed over decades ago. And the meatballs? Maybe you've been eating them all along. It's the most disturbing theory because it blurs the line completely. SCP-3008 isn't supernatural. It's normal life turned inside out. You'll never escape because you're not supposed to. Because the store is the world. The world is the store. And all of us are wandering its aisles pretending we'll find a door that leads somewhere else. And maybe that's the punchline. There is no outside. There never was.